Red Flags, The Stud, Part 2. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. In Part 1, you have understood the purpose of these videos and listened to voicemails left by Dimitri, our resident stud. By way of background, and there's not a lot available, Dimitri meets a potential female love interest in the street. She's called Olga, and she ends up giving Dimitri her telephone number. Schoolgirl error there. You've heard 2 voicemail messages that he left. Now, I'm going to go through what he said and identify the various red flags by way of narcissistic indicators. Let's find out if you spotted them also. First voicemail. Yeah, hi there, Olga. It's Dimitri. Sorry I had to leave such a rushed message with you when we met the other day. Now, the first red flag that took place was the fact that he obtained her number. That's a lack of boundary recognition and a sense of entitlement. Now, you might be thinking, oh, surely there's no harm in asking for somebody's number, otherwise how do you get a date? Well, remember, he just met her on the street, and therefore it's rather forward. Now, there may be plenty of people that would obtain a number in such circumstances, and that is a narcissistic indicator. But thereafter, they show no other behaviours of the narcissist, and therefore, it doesn't lead to problems. But the fact of taking somebody's number that you've only just met on the street shows a lack of boundary recognition and a sense of entitlement. So our first red flag arises from the actual circumstances of how it's come to be that he's been able to telephone her. I just wanted to quickly give you my phone number, and I had to get the heck out of the area. Further red flag. Why does he need to get the heck out of the area? Might this be a lie? Or, if it's true, what has he been doing that means he needs to remove himself from the geographical proximity of where they were? In any event, I figured I'd better leave you a more detailed message and explain why I approached you. This necessity of explaining shows another red flag by way of his grandiosity. I'm going to tell you why I do as I do because I'm important. I am single. I have no trouble meeting women. Well, Mr. Lover man in them himself. Red flag, self-absorbed, grandiose. I mean, women approach me 6 or 7 times a day. Another red flag there, because that's likely magical thinking. This is a man that believes that people approach him when actually they could be saying, excuse me, could you tell me where the Tate Gallery is? Or, excuse me, I'm lost. Do you know where this address is? Or, excuse me, have you got the time? And in his world, through his distortion field, or likely distortion field, he believes that translates into him being approached because women are actually interested in him. That is a hallmark of the narcissist to believe, for instance, where you have a heterosexual narcissist, that all members of the opposite sex want to sleep with them. Therefore, him believing that he's approached this number of times demonstrates magical thinking, self-absorption, grandiosity. But I'm very particular about what I like. It demonstrates a haughtiness, another red flag. You're extremely elegant, flattery, red flag. I couldn't take my eyes off of you, flattery, red flag. And your friends were very jealous. Well, how does he know that? That's just an assumption, which is basically based on, I'm such a catch, even your friends would want to sleep with me, and they're jealous of the fact that you're speaking to me. He means envious, but nevertheless, he believes that they are envious of the fact that he has approached her. He carries on, even if they say they weren't, they were envious of the fact that I approached you and I was very taken by you. Elegant women are very rare. I'm Greek, and I'm very particular about what I like. Notice he's repeated that, which is demonstrating haughtiness. So I'm giving you an opportunity here. Oh, gosh, aren't you generous? Again, that shows his grandiosity. I'm giving you the opportunity here. I don't know if you pick up the messages on the weekend, but I'm working on a movie script. I can well imagine that he's not. That's a lie, which is part of his grandiosity and delusion. So I'm pretty much around all weekend doing that. In other words, I'm actually not doing anything at all. I'm hanging around to wait for messages from all of the women that I've been approaching in this method. I left you my number. It states what the number is. This looks like a landline, and if it is, you may not get the message until Monday. But when you do, call me, assuming that she ought to call him, ordering about sense of entitlement. And then we'll get together for coffee and chat and let the romance begin. This again is demonstrative of a sense of entitlement, assuming that she's going to be romantically interested in him. You looked very taken aback by my approach, and I hope that isn't timidness. Another red flag there, whereby he's assuming to know how she thinks. I hope it was just a little bit of shock at being approached so directly. Because I don't really date timid women, haughtiness, because I'm a very direct, very passionate, very assertive man, and I want a woman who is very independent and strong. He's been prescriptive as the type of person that he wants. Now, people may well have views about the type of individual they'd like to have a relationship with, but you don't need to tell the person what it is that you're looking for. And the fact is that it's actually the case that he doesn't want somebody independent and strong. He wants somebody that's easy to control. Another red flag here by being prescriptive. So anyway, we'll talk about that, but I just wanted to formally introduce myself. Now I leave the ball in your court. You call me as soon as you have the courage to. 2 red flags there. The first, ordering her around again, and secondly, assuming that she needs courage to contact him because he's so special and so intimidating because he's such a catch. Okay, Olga, talk to you soon. Bye. That's the end of the first message. She doesn't call him. Thus, this precipitates a second message. This time, he sounds irritated, which is likely as a consequence of the failure to contact him, which is another red flag because it suggests that he's threatened his need for control. Hi there, Olga. It's Dimitri calling again, the guy from the street. I left you a message several days ago. You said you were interested. Now, here's the way I work. Prescriptive again, almost this monologue approach, which shows grandiosity, another red flag. I don't leave second messages. I don't like leaving second messages, but I like you. Haughtiness. You're a very elegant woman. Flattery. You're very attractive, but you know I don't play that game. I know your friends tell you not to return calls. You're playing games like you see on stupid TV shows, so here's how it's going to work. 2 red flags there. Making the assumption that she's playing games, because of course he's not getting his way, and secondly, telling her how it's going to work, ordering around. It is now 4:30 on Wednesday. Now I'll assume that you have already left work because you know some people leave early, and I'll grant you that. So first of all, another red flag, he's assuming to know the way that she lives her life. But if I do not receive a phone call back from you by 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon, I'm no longer interested. Threat, red flag, and you can erase my number. I don't play games like that. I'm completely single. I'm very intelligent, if you say so, red flag. I'm great in bed. He's not shy about bigging up his own credentials. I make great money, believe it or not. I'm a complete catch. It's highly likely that he's not because he has to tell her all of these things, but there we are with those further red flags. I've only been single 4 months. That again is a red flag. If that is true, the shortness of that is a red flag. I had a long-distance relationship, It went a year. It's very tough to maintain it like that, and it didn't work out. There's nothing wrong with me. Why do you feel the need to say that? Red flag. Matter of fact, I'm one of the few men in the city that has nothing wrong with him. Grandiosity. How does he know that? He doesn't. So I'm giving you that 3 o'clock deadline. If I don't hear from you, you lose my number. Threat. I'm erasing yours right now, so you won't be hearing back from me. Haughtiness. So that's it. 3 o'clock tomorrow, or you can just completely forget it. Now, I understand if you've got other issues, like maybe you're not playing games, maybe you've had, I don't know, maybe you were abused in childhood. Insult, assumption about her life, grandiosity. Maybe your mother has cancer, you're going to chemo. Maybe you're just a person who's extremely frightened and who has an anxiety disorder. Maybe you're on some medication for that. I don't know. There could be another issue that I'm not aware of. But nobody says, call me, hands a person a business card and then doesn't return calls. Well, they do, Dimitri, when somebody contacts them and speaks in the way that you do. It's extremely passive-aggressive. You should actually look that up. Passive-aggressive personality disorder. 2 red flags, he's diagnosing her and he's telling her what she should do. And you let me know if you've got issues, psychological issues, if you're on any sort of medication for anxiety or depression. I'm not interested, okay? Another red flag, lack of emotional support for somebody that's got some issues, and dismissiveness. But if you're psychologically normal and you haven't called me because there's been some horrible thing that happened in your life which prevented you, that's fine. But otherwise, don't call me. Again, it's almost slightly word saladly and the prescriptive with regards to the behaviours. Okay, bye. Now, you might think, well, this individual's rather obvious, but there would be some people that would be caught out by this individual. And as I mentioned in part 1, this modus operandi is probably fairly typical of him, that he regularly approaches women in the street, seeks their number, and calls them and speaks to them in this manner, indicating, therefore, that he's more than likely a narcissist. But there are numerous red flags that I've identified there, all from 2 comparatively short voicemail messages. Did you get them? Did you spot the various red flags that I've identified? If you've got all of them, brilliant, well done. If you've got some of them, good, you're learning. If you didn't get too many, well, there's more work to be done, but don't despair. You can be entertained by Dimitri, who's clearly very much a douchebag, but also it's likely that he's a narcissist. And as you know, that brings with it a darker circumstance altogether. I'm H.T. Tudor. Thank you for listening.